Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
That was really nice.
That was the three-handed. How did you do it?
Yeah.
Section.
Yeah. I'm baffled.
The organ's on the right side, as you mentioned, and he's got all his keys slammed on together. I'm not sure if I call that common, but all those switching things are going on, right? But he's slowly going up the keyboard with hand one. Hand two is playing something on the synth so it makes some sound. And hand three is working the controls on the synthesizer. I can't imagine how else he pulled it off. Unless, like I said before, he's got the sustain set so heavy that he plays a note and the note just rings. Like you had it taped down with a piece of tape. And it would just sound and change it because it's obviously changing in the oscillation. The portamento is changing, or the glide, the glide. Like this. That's getting faster and faster and faster. And it goes through a thing where the LFO kicks in, and you can hear those little bird chirpies, the Star Wars sound. That's all happening with one hand. It has to be.
The only thing I can think beyond the tape, which is certainly possible, is if he's holding that, if he's playing with his thumb. Now, this is ridiculous, but if he's playing with his thumb, and he had long hands, so he's got a stretch. Maybe he's using his fingers to move the oscillators while he's playing with his thumb. Is that possible?
I don't know. I wouldn't think so. I think he's got to be actively turning those things so the LFO is increasing. If you back up to that section, if you go there, just that one thing that you just played, and if you listen carefully, it starts and gets more intense and more intense and more intense, doing different things while the organ is sliding up on the keyboard, waiting for Lee to come in and bring the band back in.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
I don't know how he does that.
Let me dial back, and we'll get to listen to it again. And if anybody has any ideas how this works, please.
I would love to hear some. Yeah, I would love to have someone chime in who's a aficionado on the Moog synthesizer and how this could have been done.
UriahHeepPodcast@gmail.com. If you have an answer to how Ken plays with three hands without having three hands, for the love of God, let us know.
It's not real ridiculous.
It's Ken Hensley, man.
Back it up and take a listen. This part is amazing.
When I asked Graham Bonnet, when I interviewed him last year, I said, how was Don Airey, a keyboard position in Uriah Heep is so intense. How could Don Airey just come in and cover for a couple of nights on keyboard? It seems like an impossible task. And he just looked at me and he said, because he's Don fucking Airey. And I went, well, there you go. I have to say, that's probably the same answer for Ken Hensley, because he's Ken Hensley.
Back it up, Scott. You got to give him a chance to drink this in a little bit.
Yep, I backed it up about 20 seconds. That may not be enough, but it should give you a gist of what we're talking about. Okay, so that's the question. Now we hear in the right ear, we hear the Hammond. We hear in the left ear the Moog synthesizer. So there's his two hands, but the sound is changing. You can hear it morphing, and that is somehow somebody changing the oscillator. So how is that happening? That is the question.
It could be one of the guys. Maybe David came over and held a finger down on the Moog, on the synthesizer for him for those 20 seconds. I don't know.
That's possible. I'm trying to visualize that, and that would look really weird.
It would probably look really weird, but if somebody can figure it out, I'd love to know how it's done.
Uriah Heep podcast at gmail.com, folks. We want to know. So while we're waiting for that email to come in, this is going to be like a month before this airs. So let's hear what happens next with the whole band coming back into the song.
Gypsy Queen.
That was a little bit different. Sounded like Lee missed a drum there.
Oh, I don't know. I was listening to Mick. I didn't notice.
Being a drummer, I always have that rhythm in my head somewhere.
We all do different things.
But I like what Mick did. I really like what he played in the studio version too. Just that one note that he slid down the scale coming into this last part, I thought was really like, it was almost like an empowering sound for the singer to come back and tell the story of, I'm going to take this guy down. I thought it was like the perfect thing to play. But now that I'm hearing him play this, I really like that too.
I really like this version better than the first version. I don't understand Molito. I don't know what you're getting at. Back up?
Well, it just sounded like he missed a snare drum. There was one drum missing from the beat.
Nobody's perfect. That's possible.
Yeah.
Imagine this, because he had just been rolling through about a minute and a half of, what do you call them, triplets?
Mm-hmm.
He was really going there for a while.
Yeah, that's true. And he also, it sounded like he hit the mic a couple of times throughout that whole solo section. I heard a couple of clicks. Either he hit his sticks together or he hit a mic.
I heard that.
But that's live music, folks. That's just how it works. I don't know of a single drummer that's never hit a mic at least once or twice in their life, let alone per show.
Don't know, but I know he always had one in front of him, so maybe that's been it.
Very possible.
Will she still be torn between One day I will go to him, strong enough to fight and win. The kind of a man he'd understand.
Well, I was about to say how great the vocals sounded, the whole everybody singing their part. That last one was a little rough, though.
The harmonies were off.
Well, it sounded like David cracked a little bit.
He did. He tried to hit a note and missed it, yeah. But it's always remembered as being a great part of the song.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they sound so great together, though, especially live with everything that they're doing to pull that off so smoothly. It's really impressive.
Nobody had headphones. Nobody had, they had monitors, obviously, so they could hear themselves singing somewhat, but the harmonies are like right on, basically. There's five guys singing there. Or four guys. I don't know if Gary was singing. Nick was.
Mm-hmm. Lee was.
Nick was. Lee was. Ken was. And David was.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it sounds really good. I mean, just overall, they sound just so together, so much they're playing as one unit.
It's really well done.
Yeah. Very cohesive. But believe it or not, we still have 3 minutes of song left.
Well, you know what? This is live radio, Scott. These things happen on live radio.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm not bashing anybody. I mean, it happens all the time. It's just so rare to hear because, David is typically so in control of his voice. But if you think about how powerful, how hard he's driving his voice during this song too, it's pretty intense.
I give him I give him kudos for what he's done, obviously, but I give him a break on the notes that he missed because he was really, really singing hard. And your section, I'm going to hand over the whole drum section that's coming up over to you. So be prepared. You're going to love it.
Okay, I am ready. I've always said that for a big guy, he moves quick, and that was some really nice playing. I heard a little bit of The Magician's Birthday in there. I heard a little bit of what sounded like the opening to Dreamer, which is interesting because that would be on the next album after this show, or after this tour.
That's pretty good insight.
Yeah, just a little snippet there at the beginning of that.
I think you're right, yeah.
But very nice playing. It's weird because you were living in a time now in 73 where drummers weren't necessarily going for 20-minute drum solos anymore. That was really like 71, 72. I think it was starting to calm down a little bit around 73. But this was nice. It was a solo that wasn't so long that people that aren't into drums wouldn't be able to get through. And people that do enjoy drums had a lot to listen to.
It showed how off his expertise as a drummer without being so flamboyant. Yeah, it's a really straightforward, nicely done, right to the point. This is like he's marvelous. That's what it sounds like.
And the drums sound nice and crisp. Those toms really cut through. You don't miss anything. It's a good drum. Listening to the drums on their own, it's a good drum mix.
Awesome. I like the very last 3 or 4 seconds. There's a really flamboyant kind of roll that he does. I don't know what that is, double bass or something. It's really cool.
He actually wasn't a double bass player.
I know, but didn't he have like 2 pedals on one bass drum or something?
I don't know if they had double pedals back then. I think I looked this up for one of the episodes because I was curious, and now I don't remember. So I'm going to look it up again. When was the double bass drum pedal invented? With my masterful...
like that one on the right.
Yeah, 1910. Okay, I don't think it was really used, though. Oh, that was just a fledgling bass drum pedal. Double bass drum. Well, it's not going to tell me. All right, if I can look it up, if I can find it, I'll put it in the show notes. But
it's just such a well-done solo.
Yeah, it very much is. But you can use a floor tom, depending on how it's tuned, you can use a floor tom to substitute as that second bass drum. So a lot of times you'll hit that almost using it as a hi-hat and get that double bass feel without it actually being double bass.
Sure. There you go.
Yeah, and his drums were flat enough, I think, in this show to be able to do that pretty well. I'll have to go back and check it out again. But yeah, I think I know he's a single bass player, but so is Ian Pace, and Ian Pace has used a double bass drum before. So yeah, but overall, it was a great solo. I really enjoyed it. Man, they really dipped down the volume on that crowd pretty quick, didn't they?
Did you notice the move trying to tune up a little bit when he started his drum solo? He was in that, and you could hear someone say something. I think it was Ken making a comment about something. Right when he started his drum solo, you could hear a couple of notes of the move trying to get back in tune.
I'm glad you reminded me. I meant to ask you if that's what he was doing, because I heard that, and I heard it in the left ear first, so it would have been the Moog, but then I heard another note in the right ear, and I'm not sure if that was him just hitting the Hammond or not.
Same thing. No, same thing. Somehow they moved it over in the headphone spectrum, but yeah, he was putting back in the tune. You know what? He probably had like a strobe tuner back then or something, and it was hooked up because he didn't have the thing on where it plays that note for you, like this note. That wasn't audible.
Oh,
so I think maybe he had an oscilloscope or a strobe tuner.
That would be handy to have.
The wheels that would spin, and they'd stop spinning when you would hit the note. Real quick.
Well, it's a pretty amazing version of the song, I have to say. I mean, the energy, the power. I mean, a lot of it's coming from Ken because he's got the majority of the song. But, just the way that he and Mick are sounding together, the fact that Gary was just so laid back on this song to really leave room for Ken to do what he wanted to do. The camaraderie between Ken and Lee, pretty amazing stuff.
Gary got a little feisty at the end there in the last 3 or 4 or 5, 10 seconds where he was going all over the place because they came down to the final note. Other than that, he was very straightforward. It's a real rocker song. Head down, head bang, and rock and roll.
Yeah, and the end of the song is kind of meant to be a little bit of chaos anyway.
Yes, yeah, and they ended up on that same thing they always did back then. One note, everything stopped going. The Leslie's stopped. Mick was like just roaring straight ahead. We were doing the final cymbal crashes. Gary was on one note. Everything played one note.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. Really well done.
And they come together, like when the band is not playing and then they come back in all of a sudden, they're just right back there together in that just perfect camaraderie. That must have been so amazing to witness this live.
Sit back, have a beer while Ken's doing his thing, and everybody else sits back and has a beer while Lee's doing his thing. And by the time they got done, and they had a couple of drinks and back into the song and finished up. Nobody missed a beat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just flawless as far as everything, all the elements. It's all there.
Total place.
I can see why you listen to this one so often.
I love it. I listen to it all the time. It's just a great tune. But yeah, I think this one is my favorite heavy duty, almost psychedelic rock and roll organ synth solo I've ever heard. I just never heard anything else like it.
Yeah, I've never heard another song that I could say, that kind of sounds like Gypsy, or that kind of reminds me of Gypsy. I mean, it's a really unique thing in and of itself.
And it's so different from the studio version that it just blew me away when I heard it the first time. I'm like, what is that? How is it doing that? Mm-hmm. And I was in college then, so I went up to the music department and there was a Moog synthesizer sitting on the table. I started to dabble with that thing. I had about 2 hours with it. And that feeling never left me. I have one. It's like, I have something similar to it. And it just never left me. It's always been the same thing. So Gary had a serious impact on my music tastes.
Oh, for sure. And it's understandable why. I mean, there's so much you can learn from a song like this. The only thing that's ever bothered me about this song is that and I'm not usually a lyrical person, but I do get kind of engrossed into the story of what happens to our character. And there's that part of me that really wants to know if he ever went back and confronted this girl's father or not.
I don't know. You have to ask Mick or somebody.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to know, but it's just like you start to care about what happens to this person.
Who's the same guy for stealing?
Yeah. Exactly. So next week we have another one of your favorites, Dave, Circle of Hands.
I love that song. That's a whole different beast to me. Every bit as intense, but in a totally different way.
Well, it's a completely different tempo. It's a whole different feel to the song. Just as passionate, another very keyboard heavy song. But another one of my favorites. I've always loved that one.
A lot more people do a lot of things in that one than did this one. There's different parts from different people, band that chip in different things. And it's very different. Every bit is dear to me, but it's also a fantastic performance. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm expecting some really good vocals on this one.
They're definitely there.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to covering that one. In the meantime, we got through Gypsy, and we did it in, an hour and 12 minutes, which for us was like 2 hours because we had some technical problems. But, it happens.
I have old beer. That's the way it goes.
It is. And I'm going to blame the dust storm that we have here in Vegas going on. They have promised us that we will have zero visibility at one point. So I don't know. We'll see, or I guess not see if that happens.
We'll roll up your windows and see if you can see out.
Yeah, it's the sun's already gone down. Oh no, it still is light out there. I can't even tell anymore. I've been inside too long.
You got to get out of that room. Quick.
That's right. Well, thank you, my friend. As always, a great pleasure going over these songs with you. I got to say, I really enjoyed it.
My pleasure, as always. It's fun to talk with you.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll do this again next week, or for you guys tomorrow, or a couple of days later, and we'll be covering Circle of Hands from Demons and Wizards. So until then, you guys take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Talk to you later, Scott.
See you, Dave. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!